Yep.
Any legitimate reasons for everything.
I might just have to.
Yep, we're on.
Yep.
Sure can.
Thank you.
I'm glad it's not only me that has problems with the computer.
No.
There's weird ones.
I fixed my laptop again. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, no, I just do this. This is easier.
Yes.
See, I don't have this stuff here, so maybe it's going to go away from me, which is
Good evening. This is the October 10th, 2017 City Council meeting, beginning at 7:30. Okay. This is the October 10th, 2017 City Council meeting. I'm calling it to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon. Here. Bud Matts.
Here.
Majekis. Here. Gallo.
Here.
Banger.
Here.
Diastis.
Present.
Veenbos.
here.
With 7 present, none absent, we do have a quorum. Okay. The first order of business is to approve the minutes from the September 19th, 2017 Committee of the Whole meeting and the September 26th, 2017 Council meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Mr. Cannon has made them. Is there a second? There has been seconded. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions to the minutes? Seeing none, the question is, shall the minutes be approved? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. I need a motion to deviate for public hearing. Mr. Banger has made that, and it's been seconded. This is a public hearing for the library 2018 budget. The City Council is scheduled to hold a public hearing on the library's 2018 budget. The purpose of this hearing is to invite oral comments from interested citizens concerning the library's 2018 budget. Let the record show that the public hearing opened at 7:32 on October 10th, 2017. Is there anyone that wishes to speak regarding the library's 2018 budget? Is there anyone that wishes to speak regarding the library's 2018 budget? Seeing none, let the record show that the public hearing closed at 7:33 p.m. on October 10th, 2017. The City Council is scheduled to hold a public hearing on the city's 2018 budget. The purpose of the hearing is to invite oral comments from interested citizens concerning the city's 2018 budget. Let the record show that the public hearing opened at 7:35 p.m. on October 10th, 2017. Is there anyone who wishes to speak regarding the city's 2018 budget? Is there anyone who wishes to speak regarding the city's 2018 budget? Let the record show that the public hearing closed at 7:36 p.m. on October 10th, 2017. That brings us to the mayor's report. I do try to make all the activities. I did make the hoedown, which turned into a rain down, but there was a lot of spirit for the citizens of Rolling Meadows, and I think we're owed one for next year that we would have great weather. I also had the opportunity to meet with some residents of the community church while purchasing some pumpkins for the grandkids, so that was a good opportunity there. I also want to thank Public Works for the document recycling and destruction of documents that was done on Saturday. And also, I didn't know, Mr. Vogt, that we have some people that are so artistic. I pulled into City Hall across the way. Everything left over from hoedown was put together with hay bales and pumpkins and flowers. So we have a little display there. So I don't know who the artist was, but give them kudos.
I know who they are.
Oh.
We recycle.
Okay. Are there any ward reports this evening? Seeing none, we have two signatories on the sign-in sheet. I need to read the following to you. The council meeting is now open to members of the audience for 20 minutes to address the City Council on matters that are on the agenda or regarding other issues. We ask the persons wishing to address the City Council keep their comments to 5 minutes in length. Comments must be addressed to the council as a whole through the mayor, and profanity may not be used in any form. The first sign-in tonight is Tony and Edwina Corso. Welcome, and thank you for coming forward.
I'm Anthony. This is Edwina Corso. We live at 5405 Groveside Lane in Rolling Meadows. And I wrote a letter to the alderman. If my wife can read it, it'll cover my concerns. I'm legally blind, so she'll
Sir,
be able to read it for me.
if you could, the mic, just if you get a little closer to the mic, sir. There you go. Thank you.
Okay, I'll read the letter that my husband and I wrote. I am strongly opposed to the relocation of 2 existing fire stations. Moving the centrally located CBD station from the heart of the residents east of Route 53 to the extreme southeastern border of Rolling Meadows residential makes little sense to me. It appears that the one purpose of such a move is to manufacture a justification for moving the relatively new, well-located Plum Grove Fire Station to the east. The Plum Grove Fire Station is under 40 years old and is very centrally located to the Rolling Meadows population west of Route 53. Any attempt to move the Plum Grove Station to the east will increase response time to the residents west of Route 53, Ward 1, and jeopardize the welfare of the area's residents. In December of 2016, my wife had a heart attack, and while in the ambulance from the Plum Grove Fire Station on the way to Northwest Community Hospital, despite many complications, my wife survived. If the response time had increased, that might not have happened. Rolling Meadows has functioned fine with 2 fire stations for the last 40 years and does not need any relocation. Many residents are probably not aware of the proposed relocation plans and the inherent risk and unnecessary expense involved. By a copy of this letter, I hope many affected residents will read and send their feelings to the administration. Thank you.
I thank you for coming forward and reading your letter. The second signatory is Patricia Callahan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I would also like to speak about the fire station as well. We currently have 2 fire stations. One is in good shape. There's no reason to close it. It's functioning just fine. Station 15 needs repair. And if it would have been kept up and not let go or be neglected, it would still be a functioning fire station. There are cities all around us that have got older fire stations that are doing just fine. City of Chicago is a fine example. They've got fire stations that are much, much older, and they take care of them. And Rolling Meadows should be doing the same with Fire Station 15. And the property that was purchased on Algonquin Road originally, maybe that would be a great location for a smaller substation with just a pumper and an ambulance. And that would serve the south. And that would take care of the way Rolling Meadows is shaped, because there are a lot of people that depend on Station 15 and its response time, and Station 16 and its response time. And I would really hate to see people lose response time in this city because of the relocations and the cost, because the costs that are going to be incurred in taking a perfectly fine station, closing it, moving it, and then building another one is a lot of money. And everybody that's on this council has to remember, it's not your money, it's the people's money. And you guys are the stewards of that money. And it's your job to not only think of today, but tomorrow and the future generations of this city, and to spend it wisely and consciously. So that's my question on the firehouse. Also, I've got questions on the budget. I did accounting for a living, and I've questioned that a increase in the budget of 326.9% in public works operations. And we're going to approve a budget with an increase like that? So I'm asking that when that approval comes up to approve it, that we actually, somebody's have the sense to say, we need to table this, we need to look at this. Because I've gone through the budget and I don't understand it. So I don't think we should approve a budget that has a 326.9% increase without understanding why it's there. And then my next thing I'd like to talk about is the proposed Ryan Homes development at Dominic's. When South Bay had fell apart and did not get passed, we hired and took the time to hire a community developer. I think we should give that person a chance. We brought her on. Let's see what she can do there before we decide to go ahead and put homes there, because once that gets rezoned residential and those homes are built, that's it. Because one way that we could go ahead and not have an increase in our budget to the people and raising taxes in the city is bringing in more commerce. So that's what I would like to say this evening, is give that person a chance, see if they can bring some commerce into our city before we put homes there. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming forward this evening. And that moves us on to the ordinances for second reading. There was an ordinance on the agenda for a text amendment for assisted living that has been pulled at the request of the applicant to be rescheduled for October 24th. That brings us to ordinance B, number 17-33, to approve a special use to allow a pediatric dental office at 2251 Plum Grove Road in the T1 Office Institutional and Research District, southwest corner of Plum Grove Road and DuPont Avenue. The ordinance, if adopted, would approve a special use to allow a pediatric dental office in a T1 zoning district. At its September 5th, 2017 monthly meeting, the City Planning and Zoning Commission heard and voted unanimously to recommend approval of a special use. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance? Mrs. Maciakis has made that. Has it been seconded? It has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Maciakis.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Diestis.
Yes.
Veenbos.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
7 in favor and none opposed. The ordinance is adopted. Ordinance number 17-34 to approve the water rate increase. The ordinance, if adopted, would approve the water rate increase. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance? Mr. Cannon has made that motion. It has been seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have some questions.
Mr. Gallo, sir.
My first question is, let me back up. The first question I have is, can I address both the sewer, the water, and the stormwater in this conversation because they all fit on one utility bill, or should I focus just on the change of $6.08 for the water?
Just the water.
Just the one. Okay, so with just the one at a time, and I appreciate the Baxter Woodman report saying that we should go ahead and increase our water by 7%, and then the others by 5% relatively. But when doing this, we should have a set of projected revenues based on this increase, this delta. And with that, do we have an idea where the percent is going to go, where the allocation will be, percent going to administration, percent to operations, and percent to capital investment based on this increase that comes into the city?
Is that your first question?
First question.
Okay. Fred, or is it Barry? Are we going to you first for this one? Or is it Melissa?
Thank you, Mr. Gallo. So it is part of the overall picture that we're looking at as far as the 7% increase. And that water rate does make the fund to the point of at least not about a 10% operating fund balance. So when we think about the water rate, it's still not to where it needs to be. And those are the things that we're looking at through the Baxter and Woodman study. So it does go to the overall picture, that 7%. It's not bringing the fund to where it should be. It's bringing it to probably about a 10% level overall for fund balance.
Okay, thank you. And then so as an aggregated amount, that percentage of revenue that's then brought in, since I can't discuss it in its whole comprehensive number and its final number based on sewer and stormwater, but from that revenue that's brought in, what is the percent allocation going to be? Do we have one where it's 70% allocated to administration costs, 20% to operations, and 10% to investment in capital improvements? No.
We do not do that currently. We are looking at those kinds of things through the Baxter and Woodman rate study. As you can see, there's a page in the budget that will split those things out in terms of water, sewer, and stormwater. But no, we do not do that currently.
Okay, thank you. And then the next question to that is, when was the last time that we had these service fees increased for water?
Last year.
Last year. So, and we expect to increase it again next year to get to where Baxter Woodman would ideally like the city to be, based on having a fund balance eventually?
Those are things we're looking at.
Okay. So then next year we can expect to see another increase.
At this point in time, I can't say either way, but this is the progression based on some of the things that we're looking at in the utilities fund to make sure capital and infrastructure is being taken care of, as well as operations.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Gallo, any further questions?
No, thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Majakis?
Yes.
Gallo?
No.
Baner?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Bud Matts?
Yes.
With 6 in favor and 1 opposed, the ordinance is adopted. Ordinance number 17-35 is to approve the sewer rate increase. The ordinance, if adopted, would approve the sewer rate increase. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance? Mr. Baner has made that. Has it been second? I have a second. Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Gallo?
No.
Baner?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
No.
Cannon?
Yes.
Bud Matts?
Yes.
Majakis?
Yes.
With 5 in favor and 2 opposed, the ordinance is adopted. Ordinance number 1736, approve a stormwater rate increase. The ordinance, if adopted, would approve the stormwater rate increase. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance? Mr. Baner has made that motion. It has been seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Baner?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
No.
Cannon?
Yes.
Bud Matts?
Yes.
Majakis?
Yes.
Gallo?
No.
With 5 in favor and 2 opposed, the ordinance is adopted. Ordinance number 17-37, approve the application for a Class A2 and B liquor licenses at 3985 and 3989 Algonquin Road. The ordinance, if adopted, would approve an application for a Class A2 and Class B liquor license. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance? Mr. Cannon has made that motion, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Diastis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Bud Matts?
Yes.
Majakis?
Yes.
Gallo?
Yes.
Baner?
Yes.
With 7 in favor and 0 opposed, the ordinance is adopted. This moves us on to the consent ordinances. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda for ordinances. It consists of 3 items, G through I. Does any alderman wish to remove an item from the consent? Ms. Majikis?
Aye.
That was
Okay. Any others? Okay. The chair then declares that it is in order for one motion to consider 2 ordinances. The question is, shall the 2 ordinances be moved for second reading? Ordinance G, approve a tax abatement. This ordinance, if adopted, would approve the tax abatement for the city. Ordinance H, approve a special service area number 5 tax levy. The ordinance, if adopted, would approve a special service area number 5 tax levy. Again, the question is, shall all 2 ordinances be moved forward for the second reading? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Veenbos.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Gallo.
yes.
Baner.
Yes.
Yeses.
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, the ordinance will be moved for second reading. This brings us to ordinance I. Approve a purchase and sale agreement for Fire Station 2320 and 2350 Hicks. This ordinance, if adopted, would approve a purchase and sales agreement for the property located at 2320 and 2350 Hicks Road for the purpose of building a fire station. Do I have a motion? Mr. Cannon has made it. It has been seconded. Ms. Majikis, you have, as someone used to say, you have first bite at the apple.
Yes, I just pulled this because I have not been in support from day one of moving both fire stations. I want 15 to stay where it is and rebuild it there. Whatever we need to do there, do it. Leave both stations where they are. I don't want to put this type of money on the residents. So I am strongly opposed to this.
Thank you, Ms. Majikis. Anyone else? Mr. Budmans?
I've asked the chief for some more information, so I can't support it at this time, but I may become a supporter later. I just need more information before I vote yes.
Thank you. Mr. Gallo?
I just want to echo Alderman Majikis in the 3rd Ward that the 4th Ward is not interested in seeing Station 15 relocate, and that we should find better alternatives with our budget and with our use of property before moving forward.
Thank you. Mr. Cannon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For people who may be paying attention, I would just like to remind everybody who may be paying attention that we've been studying this issue for about 9 or 10 years. So this is hardly something we're just jumping onto all of a sudden. We've hired outside consultants to come in who have no allegiance to the city of Rolling Meadows to offer us the best possible alternatives to where to put the stations. We're following their recommendations. We've picked the A sites that they picked. We can't afford to build a 3rd station, so that shouldn't even be part of any conversation. And the 2 stations will be better served for the whole entire city. So I just want to make sure people realize this is not something we just jumped in yesterday that needs to be reevaluated. It's been evaluated, reevaluated. We're now on our 3rd fire chief who's been through this process. So it's not something we just did yesterday. So there's been a lot of study gone behind it. There's a lot of facts behind it. So don't get hoodwinked into thinking there's not been anything done. It's been studied intensely by most of the people that have been on this board. And so I would just hope that the statements that we need to reevaluate it are pushed to the side because that's not a valid argument. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The question is, shall the ordinance be moved back for a second reading? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
No.
Majikis.
No.
Gallo.
No.
Baner.
Yes.
Diestis.
Yes.
Veenbos.
Yes.
4-3 for positive, so it will move forward. That brings the council to new business. The next item of business is a motion to approve the warrant from the 10/10/17 as presented by the Finance Department. Is there a motion to approve the warrant? Mr. Veenbos has made that. Is there a second? It has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, is the question is, shall the warrant be approved? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bud Matts?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Gallo?
Yes.
Biancher?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Thank you. 7 in favor, none opposed. The warrant is approved. This moves us to the consent resolutions. The next item on the agenda is the consent resolutions. It consists of 8 items, items K through R. Does any alderman wish to remove an item from the consent agenda for resolutions?
Remember, Jack.
Ms. Majikis.
Oh,
Anyone else? Okay. Seeing that, we'll bring 7 items forward, so the chair declares in order for one motion to consider all 7 resolutions. Is there such a motion? Mr. Cannon has made it, and it has been seconded. Resolution number 17-R-112, award contract for an LED streetlight fixture replacements, city-owned facilities. The resolution, if adopted, would authorize a contract with AccuLight USA for the replacement of 324 existing city-owned streetlights from the mercury vapor and high-pressure sodium to LED. Resolution L is number 17-R-113, award a contract for LED retrofit kits for streetlight fixture replacements, Ring Road. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize a contract with GNP Energy for the materials to retrofit 33 city-owned streetlights on Ring Road from metal Haida to LED. Resolution M, number 17-R-114, approve the purchase of PC replacements. This resolution, if adopted, would award a contract for the purchase of computer replacements for the city. And resolution number 17-R-115, award a contract for 2017 Outfalls Improvements Program. This resolution, if adopted, would award a contract for construction services to repairing 11 different sewer outfall structures that serve areas adjacent to Salt Creek. P, resolution number 17-R-117, approve the release of closed session minutes and tapes. This resolution, if adopted, would release closed session minutes and tapes identified at the closed session meeting held on September 26, 2017. Resolution number 17-R-118, approve the purchase of an ambulance power cot and loading system. This resolution, if adopted, would approve the purchase of an ambulance power cot and loading system for ambulances. R, resolution number 17-R-119, purchase of a Ford Escape for community development. The resolution, if adopted, would authorize the purchase of a 2018 Ford Escape to be utilized by the Community Development Division of Public Works. This vehicle has been reviewed and supported for replacement by the Vehicle Replacement Again. The question is, shall all 7 of these resolutions be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Majikis?
yes.
Gallo?
Yes.
Biancher?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Bud Matts?
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, this resolution is approved. This brings us to resolution number 17-R-116, approve a budget amendment for the fire station. This resolution, if approved, would amend the budget by transferring $1,320,000 from the general fund to the newly created fund called Fire Station Fund. Do I have a motion? Mr. Cannon has made that. It has been seconded. Ms. Majikis, you pulled this one. You have first opportunity.
Basically, just what I said before, that I'm not in support of moving the 2 stations, so I won't support anything that has to do with it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Gallo.
Echoing Alderman Majikis, and then to put it in another context, because I work out regularly, and for the past 10 years I've been trying to shed that last bit of weight and haven't been able to do it, I'm not going to have somebody tell me that it's not possible. I'll find a new trainer and then change things up and lose that last bit of weight. Thank you.
Anybody else? Will the Clerk, please call the roll.
Gallo.
No.
Baner.
Yes.
Diestis.
Yes.
Veenbos.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Majikis.
No.
With 5 for and 2 opposed, the resolution O does pass. This brings the council to other businesses and reports. The mayor has no appointments tonight. He has no proclamations. Does the city clerk have a report?
No, Mr. Mayor.
This brings us to staff reports. Mr. Comstock, community items of interest. You are number 1 on the hit parade tonight.
Yep, I am. And I do have one addition to actually mention. But again, what was mentioned earlier in the meeting, we had the Hometown Hoedown on Saturday for about 2.5 hours. We had good weather, and then we had lots of rain. But do greatly appreciate all the friends, volunteers, participants who were there, especially the volunteers who were working it. And again, it was another good experience for everybody for that 2.5 hours. We do appreciate everybody who helped out. And we hope to see everybody next year. It will be scheduled more. On that, I guess, on a personal manner, when you talk about all the community events that we did, this was the first one that we really had rain. Everything else has been really great this year between farmers and food trucks and wine down by the creek. So hopefully next year we can have everything with beautiful weather. And I don't count the tree lighting because we expect snow. So that precipitation we do expect. So obviously what was also mentioned, I'd like to thank Public Works for the document and electronic recycling event that they held. And a reminder to residents, typically we do that as the first Saturday of the month of October. We do appreciate Swank for obviously scheduling that and obviously participating at that point in time. I want to thank everybody who showed up last night at Portello's for the Crime Stopper fundraiser. It was greatly appreciated. Obviously, it's another of those groups that we do fundraise for, but again, everybody who did show up, we do appreciate that. And the Crime Stopper president who's sitting out there, I know that he's trying to schedule another one soon for that organization too. Obviously, coming up this Saturday, we have 2 events that we would like to mention. The first one is obviously Saturday, October 14th, is the Fire Department Open House, and that will be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the fire station at 2455 Plum Grove Road. Obviously, there's some new things, there's some old things that are going to be, and we're hoping the weather will hold during that period of time because it's another time that seems to be some wet weather moving in for that Saturday. Also on Saturday, October 14th, there will be the grand opening of the new Village Bank and Trust of Rolling Meadows Community Bank from Wintrust. That's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and that's located at the 1635 West Algonquin Road. And again, that is scheduled to be family-friendly. It is a new bank in town. It's right by Sushi Station and Bixby and all those kind of things. And again, that one's from 10 to 1. The fire station one is from 10 to 2. They have the hot dogs and the food at the fire station. There's my pitch to come to the city one. And obviously, the other thing that I want to mention is Thursday, October 19th, the city will be having a community portal seminar. So in regards to the city website, it gives you information about a lot of information that you can actually get between your sewer lines, your water lines, additional information, and it's a great opportunity for people to learn more about our community portal that is available at this point in time for all residents, all businesses. We've actually had some other people do some work out of that too. It will be at the library, which is 3110 Martin Lane, and it starts at 7 p.m. The other one that I do want to mention, and again, is the Rolling Meadows Police Department and the DEA have scheduled another national prescription drug take-back, and that will be for Saturday, October 28th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the City Hall parking lot, 3600 Kirchhoff Road. It's a great way, again, an opportunity if you missed any of our previous events or you have a lot accumulated. And I do want to reiterate, actually here on the second floor of City Hall, we have a gray box right outside of the police department main area. It's actually provided by Cook County. The Sheriff's Department comes at least once a month and they dump that. But this is another event coming again Saturday, October 28th for disposal of any of those kind of drugs. We know that certain times people have accumulated, maybe you have a family member who's not on that same prescription, or you cleaned out a neighbor's residency, or you had some accumulated from other family members. It's a great way to dispose of it correctly. The other thing is that Chief Nowacki and the police department have also scheduled for that day, and again, that's Saturday 28th between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., to provide child safety seat checks and the installation. So that's something new that we're trying to do at this event, too. If you have any questions about those events that are actually going on, please contact Chief Nowacki at 847-394-8500. Obviously, the other items that I want to reiterate, and we did last City Council meeting, that Tuesday, October 31st is the Halloween trick-or-treat hours from 3 to 8 p.m. Just a reminder. And again, if any of your children or a friend of the family or anybody actually collects some treat that you have reservations, concerns about, we will have the usual disposal can here at City Hall set up where you can just dispose of it there, and then Public Works will make sure it gets disposed of correctly. And again, it will be outside of City Hall, typically, usually that week before. And then obviously Monday, November 6th is early refuse set out begins. Please place all refuse to curb no earlier than 3 p.m. the day prior to the pickup. And then obviously with the colder weather, rain, and some of the other things that have been happening, leaves are starting to fall. So please remember, friendly reminder to residents, landscapers, or anybody else who's listening, please do not dump or blow them into the street or down the sewers. We do have street sweeper working through the area, but that's greatly appreciated. The other thing that I do want to add, which is not on the full document that people have at home if you're downloading, is just to mention that the Cook County Finance Board actually voted today to 15-1 to repeal the soda tax. However, it has to go to the full county board, and it looks like tomorrow they will take the vote. If you look at some of the newspaper articles, and if you look at some of the descriptions and some of the comments that have been said, it'll probably run all the way to November 30th. So the earliest that potentially that this repeal, if it passes, and obviously some of the other pieces, would be December 1st. And we will keep the council and obviously residents apprised of that too. But that is one more update that we just want to mention, and that was from today's Finance Committee meeting at Cook County, and then tomorrow, hopefully, the full county will actually vote on that. So that is items of interest at this point in time.
Thank you, Mr. Comstock. Mr. Vogt, Staff Traffic Advisory Report.
Thank you, Mayor. Traffic Review Advisory Committee met last week. Several topics we discussed. The first one was the concerns brought up regarding safety and parking enforcement on East Frontage Road, south of Central Road. Some history down there. Back in 2010, I believe it was, when the street was resurfaced, we made the efforts to pave the shoulders wherever there wasn't sufficient parking deemed for the residents. So the simple rule on East Frontage Road is if there's gravel shoulders, there's no parking allowed. If there's paved areas in one way, shape, or form, there is parking allowed. Specifically to the area south of Central that has several curves. In discussions with the police department, police chief, with the city engineer, and the city attorney, we came up with several actions to implement based on observations. One is to install additional 20-mile-an-hour speed limit signage there to make sure that motorists slow down, because in other areas it's either 30 or 35 miles an hour. There's quite a bit of overgrown vegetation along the access control fence that may cause some vehicles to not park as close to the fence as they otherwise would. So we're going to make efforts in Public Works to clear that as much as practical. We will inquire of IDOT as to if there's any possibility of moving that access fence even a couple feet closer to the expressway and the off-ramp, so that there's more room to park, so that the vehicles that do park there can get further off of the street. We will also look to install additional no parking signs, and in particular some additional signage for the overnight parking restrictions, 2 to 6 p.m. I'm sorry, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Lastly, if there are any changes that are ever proposed in terms of the locations of parking, we would recommend doing a resident survey, because we tend to try to do those and get the input of the neighborhood or the residents whenever we have situations that we would consider changing the parking locations, but we're not proposing doing any of that at this point, simply making it more convenient and more safe for the residents that do park there, and make it more safe for residents that drive that road in terms of the speed limit and in terms of the hazards that are there. So that's item number 1. Item number 2 involved the guardrail on Wilkie Road, which is the old section of Wilkie near Clarny Court. That has been becoming a maintenance problem. There are a number of homes that back up to that area. Some of them have encroached into the right-of-way with regards to plantings and other uses. The committee recommends, based on the low traffic volumes and the speed there, that the guardrail could be removed. It really has been there since probably the 1960s or 70s, when it was a through street rather than a dead-end street. Public Works will remove the scrub vegetation to within 6 feet of the edge of the pavement per the recommendations of the city engineer from a safety standpoint. And we will also look for residents, if they're interested in having parkway trees planted there to replace the existing vegetation. We will offer that to them probably for spring 2018 plantings. Item number 3, and the last one I'll discuss just briefly, the Vermont Euclid pedestrian crossing concerns that we've had from some homeowners a couple of months ago. Staff was able to have some dialogue with Cook County Highway Department staff. They are investigating some ideas in terms of possibly lowering the speed limit there, to look for some safety measures for lane changes in terms of the width so that we could get a larger median. There are a number of things that we'll continue discussions with Cook County staff and hopefully have some direction on this later in the year. So those are the highlights from the traffic review meeting for this month.
You want to change the seat and then go to number 3, Mr. Vogt, since you're on there for senior snow plowing next?
Yes, sir. Every year for the last several years, we've brought this matter of senior snow removal program for the upcoming winter to the council in advance of our having the city budget approved. We do have to make a commitment to our residents that participate in this program, and prefer to do that by the end of October if we're going to have a program, in order to register them, to get them lined up with the contractors. The 2 contractors that we've been using for several years now, Gungor Brothers and Dugo Landscaping, have agreed to hold prices at the same $40 per snow plowing event that they provided last year. We limit the program to a maximum of 90 participants. We've been averaging somewhat less than that the last couple of years, probably closer to 60. As I said, it's a cost of $40 per location. We have a subsidy program based on income that seniors have. There's forms that they fill out. We use the Cook County income verification form for that. A snow plowing event typically is more than 3 inches, but it's really dependent on the nature of the snow. Sometimes we have them plow if it's 2.5 inches, if it's a heavy wet snow and severe cold is forecast after that. Other times we can have 3 or 4 inches of fluffy snow with warm weather following, and we don't have the driveways plowed. So if council is in support of continuing the program, we will proceed, as we have in past years, to notify previous participants by mail of their need to register for the program. We also contact the senior center to make sure that they're aware of it for any new potential users that would want to know about our services.
Thank you, Mr. Vogt. I think we swing over to Ms. Melissa Gallagher, second quarter financials, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Within the City Council packet, we do have the second quarter financial statements, and that is results of operations as of June 30th, 2017, so 50% of the year completed. This report is an unaudited report. It is presented on a cash, sort of a modified accrual basis, meaning that some of the revenues received and expenditures incurred are attributed to the previous fiscal year. We keep that as a footnote out there. Given that this is only the second quarter, There is a brief report that we'll be giving, and we did want to mention that we did update the estimate for the general fund and added that estimate into the report so that you could see the comparison data. We begin with the general fund, and then we also cover the utilities fund and the refuse fund. Revenues coming in through June 30th, 2017 are $16.2 million, and expenditures also matching that at $16.2 million for the general fund. So right now, revenues are just slightly better by 1% than the budget. Overall, revenues are trending as they should be based on our estimate. You can see when you look at the column with the estimate, we're tracking where we should be for June through June. We do show a little bit lower in state income tax. That's some of the reasons that we've mentioned before in prior meetings, and we're looking at that and making sure we're monitoring that from the state of Illinois. But overall, based on our overall estimate for the general fund, we're looking at 50% received so far year to date. And the same is true for expenditures as well. Some expenditure line items are tracking a little bit slightly lower, and that's due to some ongoing labor negotiations. But overall, the estimated fund balance is similar to what is presented in the proposed budget for the general fund. When we flip over to the all funds income statement, which does show all of the funds through the year, June 30th, that will show you all revenues coming in and expenditures going out for each of the funds. And those also are tracking per the estimates based on the proposed budget. The TIF number 4 Gulf Road Fund Squibb Drive work has started, and we're waiting for some reassessments from Cook County, and we're monitoring that as well. When we flip over to the cash and investments summary fund, this shows all of the cash and investments for the city's investment portfolio through June 30th. All in, we have $22.5 million across all funds, with the general fund sitting at $9 million, which is 40%. And the general fund, again, is our total operating cash for the city, typically. When we look at the utilities fund and the refuse fund, that is also tracking on target to budget. And so that really is just the high-level overview. There's a lot of detail in graphs within the council packet to show you some of the major revenues for the general fund, and I won't spend the time on that, but that's right in the council packet as well. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. That moves us on to, in the packet, I do receive requests from like the Northwest Municipal Conference of Mayors and from other groups from time to time, and so a letter was sent on behalf of the city in regard to the soda tax. It's in the packet, and hopefully with everyone else who sent letters, it helped to repeal it. That moves us on to Mr. Vogt, moratorium on the antenna.
Or the city attorney.
This is kind of a joint effort between myself and City Attorney Jim McCall.
I'm sorry, Jim. I don't want you to feel slighted. If you want to take it, that's fine.
Whatever Mr. Vogt wants.
I can work through it and ask Jim to join in if I misstate something. But we were requested by Alderman Jackus to look at considering a moratorium on issuing permits for antenna structures. We discussed this at the staff level and felt 90 days is considered a reasonable time frame to review an application, which happens to also be what Jim found in his research that would, as I understand it, discourage us from formally issuing a moratorium. But because the FCC regulations and the like allow for up to 90 days for municipal, local government use to review this, we feel at the staff level we could certainly look at our existing codes, try to make some adjustments, recommendations for that in terms of consistency, make some adjustments based on input that the City Council would have, as well as to ultimately take the matter to our Planning and Zoning Commission, probably in December of 2017, with recommendations for their consideration in terms of some zoning code adjustments, which then would cause anything that comes out of that body to come back to the City Council shortly thereafter, probably yet in December of 2017 for consideration of ordinance to make those changes. So all of that within the 90-day period is what we are envisioning at this time. I also bring to the Council's attention we've been learning more and more about what's called small cell wireless facilities, which typically are mounted on street light poles or other type of poles that there's considerable discussion at the state legislature level in terms of providing for such to be installed with or without certain regulations of the city. So we want to add that to our investigation over the course of the upcoming months. So that's the report where we are from the staff standpoint. If the city attorney's got anything
Mr. McCall, anything you wish
add,
to
I'd
add?
ask him to do so.
No, I have nothing further to add to what Mr. Bowden had to say.
Thank you. Presentation of the October 17th Committee of the Whole agenda, Mr. Krumstock.
Mayor Prater.
Right now, you have 6 items that are scheduled to be presented. Obviously, the first one is the business survey that was commissioned by the City Council back in April. But between June, there were some surveys received. Obviously, the Economic Development Committee last week went over the presentation that we had at that point in time. There will be another full presentation to the City Council, and it's actually will be released to obviously residents to see at that point in time too. We will have the fiscal year 2018 budgets for a library in the city, and then we will have a discussion on skunks. And I did get some information from the main municipality that's been discussing that, and actually was on TV and the radio and all those kind of things. And then we will have a brief discussion on council chambers, and then that's actually going to be followed by hopefully even a briefer conversation about Brookwood update, because it's been some time since we brought that back to City Council, and we do have the appraisal back from what was actually done with that. That presentation might be done by City Attorney Jim McCall, so he's presenting at least something maybe at our Committee of the Whole meeting. So with that, those are the 6 items that we're getting ready to present, and obviously the longest discussion that we think will be the business survey.
Thank you, Mr. Krumstock. That goes to matters not on the agenda. The only comment I have is from the Traffic Advisory Committee. I'd like to see how we could, I've spoken about getting the Environmental Committee with their bike group in more of your meetings. So we have a discussion about moving that forward so they attend all the meetings. So other matters not on the agenda? Ms. Majakis.
Thank you, Mayor. So in regards to cell towers and all that, Fred had mentioned that probably like by December you'd have more of a handle on things, kind of more information and all that stuff. So I was wondering, is it possible on the December COW then to discuss this so that we can get an update of where we're at, what we know is, and to kind of find out is R1 definitely or not, or...
We hope to have stuff back to the City Council, but for that 90 days when we were planning, that's why we have to bring it back to the planning and zoning. But our plan is to have lots of discussion on this too, because there's more into it. And as Public Works Director Fred Villett mentioned, the small cell is spending a lot more time and starting to hit more of the municipalities. And when we talk about a small cell, you can make the comment that you're driving on Golf Road. They put one on one of the light pole, and that's very limited range. So when you're driving on Golf Road, that's all that it's hitting. But that's what they're looking for. They're looking for hot spots that they can hit. And at this point in time, it is kind of restricted what we can do. But that's also why we want to have that discussion and do some of the evaluations and bring that back. And that also goes back to some of the conversations that we've had, that we need to look at our zoning code, because there are certain items that are out there. And obviously, the one other comment that I would actually say is that today we did receive the 75-foot Campbell antenna application.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other matters not on the agenda? Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn? It has moved, so moved, and it has been seconded.